Right there, geezers, Jules here from FGS, home of the Future Game Show. And you know what? I absolutely bloody love me some wrestling. I love the athleticism. I love the over-the-top extravagance of it all. I love the special moves. I love the finishes. I love the music. I could do less with the horrible backstage politics and antics that make me question what further depths humanity can sink to, but we're not looking into the void today. Instead, what we're actually going to be looking at are wrestling games. Weird ones. Because when it comes to wrestling games, they take the concept of silly and perform a knock crank to Boston nipple pinch and then roll over to perform a bridging scrotal pin on the very concept. From titles that let you smash around in monster trucks to softcore porn titles masquerading as games where the only real grappling is between you and your trouser buttons. It's called Rumble Roses, by the way. I know that people are going to immediately ask what it is. Wrestling video games are the epitome of strange, and we love them. Well, for the most part. And that's what we're here to talk about today, the weird and wonderful world of wrestling games. So join me as this is FGS. I am indeed Jules Gill. This is indeed the Deep Cut with Jules Gill, baby! And these are 8 of the strangest wrestling video games ever. And you know the drill by now. This is the Deep Cut with Jules Gill, baby. So we're going to be talking about games that you don't know of, haven't heard of, or thought about in a while. So I know you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, I'm going to type in WWE Crush Hour, for example. Please, come on. It's too basic. And let's start at the top with the real one. Number 8, Ultimate Muscle Legends vs. New Generations. Okay, friends, now it would be a heinous mistake to not put the Ultimate Muscle Legends vs. New Generations title on this list of strange wrestling games because honestly, this is one of the most batshit experiences I've ever had the pleasure of playing. From a plot that genuinely makes no sense. Seriously, meat, why are you bringing together 2 generations of wrestlers and having them fight each other when they could just be teaming up against the giant evil invading aliens? To gameplay that is both floaty and complex, to special moves that are so over the top that it makes battle construction vehicles look tame by comparison. Let's just take a moment to appreciate battle construction vehicles, by the way. Which is, yes, as you can plainly see here, a fighting game in which you fight as construction vehicles. It's so insane. Please, Mark, just show one of the special moves here. It speaks for itself. But yes, this entry into the Kinnikuman franchise is like no other because it is so over the top that even Jeff Hardy is sweating bullets. I cannot play this game without a dumb smile on my face because it's that perfect blend of arcade button mashing action and sheer ridiculousness that is highlighted at every turn. From the insane air and rebound physics, the crazy amount of modes and matches, to the ability to play as characters called Dick Von Dick and even a living chess piece, this is the game you wanted on your GameCube when your mates came over for a night of fighting. However, my favourite thing about this franchise, and indeed the reason that I wanted to put this onto the list and talk about in general, is that it's the only video game franchise or manga series that I can think of that has inspired its own real-life wrestling event. Seriously, in 2009, Toei Animation basically put on a wrestling event with stars of the manga. Brilliant. And that means that one of the strangest wrestling games ever helped create what was surely one of the strangest wrestling events ever. Number 7, Def Jam Icon? Question mark? Question mark? Am I leading in with something here? Question mark? Okay, fans, let's talk about a franchise that needs, and I repeat, needs to come back. The Def Jam Fighting Wrestling Game series. This franchise was so utterly brilliant and totally bizarre, but unfortunately it left fans with a bit of a sour taste in their mouths when it had this bit of a stinker in 2007 with Def Jam Icon. Now, whereas the first 2 titles were adrenaline rush experiences with swollen rosters, amazing performances, and utterly brutal gameplay, Icon was a lethargic whale that tried to blend its gameplay with the soundtrack in order to do more damage on the beat, but did so through such a glacial pace that you'd fall asleep before your opponent fell to the deck. Plus, I mean, look at these graphics here. They're all just so gritty. It's just like I've got sand in my eyes and my crack, and I'm angry about both, and it's just such a bizarre thing to look at. How is a game trying so many new things and doing all of them wrong? So you know what? Seeing as Def Jam Icon is so bad, so bland, and so downright boring, it doesn't actually deserve a spot on this list. Plus, I'm pretty sure you've heard about this game anyway, so you know what? I'm going into business for myself, and I'm kicking it out the ring. And in its place, I get to sneak in a bonus entry here that I know that most people will definitely not be aware about. And that is the fact that Popeye, yes, Popeye had his own wrestling video game in 1992 called Popeye 3 Wrestle Crazy, and it most definitely is that. Crazy. Oh, it was also absolutely bollocks, by the way. Yeah, if you were hoping for a deep cut classic here, I do hate to disappoint you, but it's more like a bin bag full of rotten spinach than a bona fide classic. The controls are sluggish. The wrestling aspect had horrendous collision detection, meaning that starting a grapple is a chore, and it moves at bloody half speed. Yet for all of its many faults, Popeye 3 Wrestle Crazy is just so strange that it deserves a proper place on this list. I mean, the concept of Popeye, the sailor guy, or whatever his name is, fighting aliens? Yeah, how is that not weird? He's Popeye the Sailor Man. And speaking of strange, I'm going to break character a little bit right now and actually talk to you, yes you, the viewer at home. I'm going to pull back the curtain. If I had a curtain here, I'd be pulling it back right now because I'm nothing if not a showman. Now, do you guys actually like the deep cut? Do you like the idea of me going in and talking about lesser known video games? Well, if so, please, and I do mean please, consider supporting the channel. It not only shows that we're doing the right thing, that we're delivering content that people want to watch, but also it just means that I feel like I get to do something that I'm really passionate about and actually have it connect with people. Now, I'm not going to force you to do it, but it would mean a huge deal to me personally if you would consider subscribing and supporting the channel. And then we can stay up to date. You and I, every single Friday, we can have a chat about more deep cut games that you didn't know about, all right? You know, that's my little trade-off to you. But if you don't like it, let me know down below. I'll be sad, but at least I'll know. Long story short, cheers to those who do support the channel. Big love to you. Really appreciate you. Number 6, Mania. 1, 2, 3. Now, you might be looking at Mania over here and thinking, what in the hell of a Heidenreich is wrong with this game, Jules? I mean, it looks like a pretty standard wrestling arcade game. And yes, you know what? Let's make like Gene Snitsky and boot the baby right out of the gate here because you're right. This is, for the most part, like 99% of the time, a straight-up arcade wrestling game. But what about that 1%? Ooh. Now here the graphics are cutesy, the soundtrack is vibrant, if a little repetitive, and the mechanics seem pretty solid, but the strangeness ramps up to the extreme the moment that you try and score a pinfall win against your opponent. As it's here, you'll have to contend with the referee and his, well, let's just call them unique vocal stylings. As the ref hits the mat, it sounds like he's unfortunately landed on his scrotum as well, as with each count his voice raises in pitch and intensity, and when he hits that 3, it's like he's a second away from screaming for the ambulance to take him to the A&E waiting room. This guy isn't just giving it socks, he's become a full-on nudist as a result of his extremely passionate delivery here, and while I can't fault him that he wants people in the back row to definitely hear his cries, it does create a very unsettling atmosphere, and is the strangest moment in an otherwise extremely straight-laced game. Number 5, King of Monsters on the Neo Geo. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm losing a bit of steam here, gang. I'm not been sleeping well at the moment. You can probably actually tell that at the moment. I've been waking up at 5 every morning. Great fun, isn't it? Especially when you're combining exercise and running first thing. Anyway, that's not the point. I'm losing a bit of steam right now. I need something to zhuzh me up. I need that bit of spice in my veins. If only there was a video game that combined my love of wrestling and giant skyscraper-sized monsters throwing each other through said skyscrapers. Oh, wait. What's this? Well, hello there, Vicar. Nice of you to smash through my bloody wall. What's this you have in your teeth? A copy of King of Monsters for the Neo Geo? Wow, thank you. What the fuck's a Neo Geo? King of the Monsters. Basically what would happen if the Rampage series made sweaty love with Godzilla while Kong watched from the cuck chair. The aim of this game is to be the last monster standing, and to do this, you need to buckle bomb your opponent through a Ferris wheel, spear them into an office block, and then deliver a hellacious German suplex to finish the job. However, what makes this game so brilliant outside of its bonkers premise, and actually fun grappling mechanics, is the fact that the tiny humans around you won't just scream and flee, they'll call in the army and the special forces to take pot shots at you, which, while doing about as much damage as flicking a toenail at your high school bully, can sometimes result in down-to-the-wire matches. It's arcade brawling like never before, and don't you agree this kind of format needs to make a comeback? I mean, we're having a new renaissance of kaiju battles at the moment with Godzilla and King Kong. Tell me that this concept wouldn't be great with up-to-date modern graphics. Hell, even keep it 2D, but just put in the newer versions of the monsters. This is a goldmine. Number 4, Knuckle Bash. Do you smell what the Jules is cooking, my friend? No, it's not the smell of cat hair and sadness. It is indeed the glory days of the arcade, that sweaty teenage musk. Ew. And the reason that we're sniffing it right now is because we're traveling back in time to look at a deep cut that is unfortunately still confined to the cabinet to this very day. And that game is Knuckle Bash. Ow. I tell you, with a name like that, I know your expectations are high, and trust me, this deep cut does not disappoint when it comes to double fisting you with a good time. I probably should have written that a slightly different way. And as its combat is tighter than Shinsuke Nakamura's trousers, its soundtrack is the stuff of bit-crushed heaven, and yes, despite it looking like a Streets of Rage clone, is balls to the wall all about the graps. For you see, dear friend, all of the characters that you'll meet, all of the moves that you can do, and indeed the entire plotline of this game is all revolving around wrestling. It might not look it, but this is a bona fide wrestling game from start to finish. Plus, you get to play the game as a greased-up wrestling Elvis, so trust me, you want me to talk about this game. The plot of Knuckle Bash revolves around a shady wrestling organization that's got a little bit too big for its boots and needs taking down by the only pro wrestlers out there who want to grapple for glory and not the gold. And so in the name of justice, you go out there and heroically, valiantly beat the shit out of some hotel workers and passers-by that may or may not be just trying to escort you out of the premises. You know, proper good guy stuff. But what makes Knuckle Bash really special, though, outside of the grapple animations that look lovely, is the way that you fight bosses. As instead of them coming in with reams of goons, here they challenge you in a one-on-one affair, which does start to feel like early WWF arcade games. Hell, they even bill your opponent before the fight begins, which hammers home the point that you are about to hammer their head through the f***ing door. Good times with Knuckle Bash. I'm not going to do it again. My knuckles are already bruising. Like a peach. Number 3, WWE Racing Showdown. Now, I know that all of you little CLBs, or creepy little bastards, which was what they tried to call Christian for a time in the WWE. Weird. Will probably be thinking to yourself, Jules, I didn't think that you were going to put in a WWF or WWE game into this list because they're too common knowledge. Everyone knows about them. And that's true, my friends. But just because you have the F or the E added to your game title, it doesn't mean that your game isn't going to fade into obscurity. And so I present to you WWE Racing Showdown. Oh, I'm giddy. I mean, if the WWE can't make Kazani a household name, then what hope did WWE Racing have? Which was a mobile game released in 2021 to a collective audience of around, I don't know, like 3 people. Now, I tell you this, friend, I don't blame you for not knowing about this game because you're a sensible sort who doesn't play mobile games, which are, as we know, the absolute worst. But you know what? This game is actually pretty fun. Oh, sorry, by fun, what I meant to say is that it's a wonky mess of animations that don't seem to fit together, and it's also made by devs who don't seem to understand what color Jinder Mahal's skin is. Yeah, look at the animation when you unlock him. Looking a bit pasty there, pal. And that's me saying that. Goblin. This game is also absolutely insane, by the way, because Racing Showdown is a crossover between traditional wrestling graps and the Road Rash series, and sees you not only having to cross the finish line first, but deliver kicks, chops, and full-on power bombs from the seat of your motorbike. Watching Roman Reigns dump John Cena on his ass whilst traveling at 100 miles an hour is a thing of surrealistic beauty, and while the racing itself isn't anything to write home about, the combat is so ridiculous that you can't help but be entertained. If you thought that WWE Crush Hour was mad for its take on vehicular combat, then WWE Racing Showdown is about as bizarre as seeing Beaver Cleavage as the world champion. If you don't know who he is, he had an incest gimmick. Wrestling! Number 2, Hybrid Heaven. Ah, yes, my friends, now we're onto the good stuff. The deepest of cuts and most fringe example of what it is to be a wrestling game. Hybrid goddamn heaven. Drink it in, man. Now this, right here, is one of those video games that is so delightfully awkward and offbeat that at first you might look at it and say, ooh, brother, ooh, but it contains such brilliant concepts that you can't help but get sucked in. Now, I'm sure that you're looking at gameplay of this and saying, Jules, you definitely don't know what you're talking about. I'm not seeing any wrestling going on at the moment. But much like the actual wrestling itself and this segue into talking about how it is actually a secret wrestling game, it's just a little bit, mate. Oh, I popped myself when I wrote that this morning. I was bloody chuffed with that line. I say this because Hybrid Heavens combat turns some encounters into a full-on grapple fest beatdown, with you picking which area of the enemy to attack and what body part you want to do it with. This allows you to target weak spots, trip enemies, and then attack them whilst they're prone, and yes, you saw that right, you can indeed level up your individual limbs, meaning that if you spam right hooks all the time, you'll end up with biceps bigger than Big Poppa Pump, and I just love that for us. And much like Scott Steiner, you too can bust out a flurry of wrestling moves by engaging your foes with grapples, and trust me, there is no greater feeling than taking on one of these misshapen monstrosities and delivering a piledriver so brutal it cracks the very earth. Now, to be fair, it is a bit of an abdominal stretch for me to include this in the strange wrestling games list, but you know what? It's so weird, it is so offbeat, it's got such a bizarrely focused approach to its combat that it's just strange beyond any other level. So it has to be included, it has to be talked about, it has to be remembered, it can only be Hybrid Heaven. By the way, I was just thinking to myself when I was recording this, what would my wrestler gimmick be? Let me know down in the comment section below. I mean, I personally would be called like Da Egg or something like that. And what would my finish move be? Oh, the Hollandaise. It's like the clothesline from hell that JBL used to do. But then I like spin, like, you know when you pin, you can spin around them. I'll spin around them like I'm buttering them, like I'm covering it, like that. Oof, beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. What music would I come down to? I Respect You as a Woman and a Lover by Anal. Right, now we've got that out of the way. And number 1, Extreme Wrestling on the PSN. And so we close today's Deep Cut with Jules Gill, baby, by talking about a game that is absolute box. The worst. It's so badly programmed, and yet I feel quite happy about things because I get to introduce people to a game that makes Ride to Hell Retribution look like a goddamn masterpiece. Say hello, my friends, to Extreme Wrestling on the PSN. This game is so far off the range when it comes to meeting wrestling fans' expectations that the only way that we can view it is through a telescope. So say hello to Extreme Wrestling and say goodbye to the concept of fun, game balance, and fair use when it comes to copyright material. Now, to say that this game is smellier than Bastion Booger's undercarriage is a damp, claggy understatement, because this game is absolutely fucking abysmal, and it ticks all of the boxes on the checklist of did you even fucking try? And all of the boxes say no, by the way. Here, characters will perform moves like they're still maintaining social distancing. The graphics look like when you crank a video game down to the lowest possible settings on your PC, and yes, you are seeing that correctly, the crowd is encouraging you to actually kill your opponents. Well, it's either that or that they're begging for death, and considering the title that they're in, that probably is true. Yet the strangest thing about Extreme Wrestling is just how blatantly it wants to bait the lawyers of the WWE by featuring characters that are actual renders from old 2K games, of which The Rock and Taker are the biggest offenders. I mean, sure, the game tries to pass them off as different characters and even slaps a very bad tattoo over The Rock, but come on guys, you're trying to pass off 2 of the wrestling biggest stars in the world as original characters and charge us money to play this sloppy tripe. This game feels like the culmination of like a bad choose-your-own-adventure storyline where you've chosen the wrong and worst possible outcomes every single time. This is what you end up with, a void of happiness that is just so greedy, so blatantly heinous with how much it wants to just go, look, I'll take your money and run. I am running with your wallet. You don't even have to give it to me. I'll take it. It's a terrible game. You should not support it, but I'm pretty sure that a few of you out there, because of the fact you love putting yourself through these abominations, probably will end up downloading it. You're welcome, I guess. Long story short, it's a very strange game, and it's even stranger that you can still get it. And there we go, my friends. Those were the 8 strangest wrestling video games ever. I hope that you enjoyed that. And let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on my social medias over here. And you can follow my lovely editor over on their social medias over here. But before I go, I just want to say one thing, my friend. Even though we spoke today about strange wrestling games, let's grapple with something that we could do with mastering and pinning to the floor every single morning, and that is being kind to ourselves, all right? You deserve love, happiness, and success, and do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise. You are a massive ledge, and you deserve the bloody best. Now go out there and absolutely smash it. Drop kick life in the face. Get your goals. Put them into a little noogie right there. Like, you like that? You like that? And he's like, why are you doing this to me? I'm your life. Oh, yeah. You want to tag up? Yeah, let's tag up. Whoosh. Something like that, anyway. Anyway, treat yourself with care, my friend. Big love to you from me, and I'll see you next time here on The Deep Cut with Jules Gill. Baby! Catch you later.